Right, pay attention class, welcome back to Film School 101. Over the last couple of weeks I've done blogs about movies from the past which relate to current releases, which I've said you might want to go back and check out. I was talking about the fact that Antichrist has just come out on DVD and said go back and see Andrzej Żuławski's Possession. And then there's a new Hughes Brothers movie in the cinemas now. I said, well, you know, you might want to check out Dead Presidents. And there's been a very good response to this. So if you're enthusiastic, we'll carry on doing it. In the meantime, here are just some of your responses to those two posts. I was talking about Dead Presidents, saying it was the great overlooked film of the 1990s, and that there's things wrong with the Book of Eli, although I generally enjoyed it, but Dead Presidents was the masterpiece you need to check out. Here are some of your responses. From Psychic Furs Fan 83, thank God someone remembers Dead Presidents. It is a great film, sits in my collection in an ex-rental VHS version, as that was the only copy I was able to purchase back when it was initially released, the days before DVD. I did, however, find the Book of Eli to be atrocious, so much so I walked out after an hour, only the second time I've done so since becoming a critic. Harsh on Book of Eli. I think there was interesting stuff in that film for me, although I think it is a bit messy. But, you know, nice to hear somebody standing up for Dead Presidents. This from Hattori Hanzo. I've just finished watching Dead Presidents literally 10 minutes ago. I loved it. Having grown up on films like Menace to Society, which was the Hughes Brothers' previous feature, I found it to be a mature look at African-American life. For me, it's definitely a standout 90s film, which reminded me in tone of There Will Be Blood. I mean, similar sort of sociology and religion and politics, which I understand. This from Simon. I purchased Dead Presidents on Import Criterion Laserdisc, sight unseen. Actually, I didn't know it was available on Laserdisc. Sight unseen at the time of its release, and I was hugely impressed with the Hughes Brothers' fluid camera work and use of music. I also agree with you that the ferocious Vietnam sequence is one of the best cinematic depictions of that war. The film also contains a real rarity, a good performance from Chris Tucker. Actually, I've forgotten that it is Chris Tucker in it and that he went on to become such a pain. From Pirates Rocks. Went to see Book of Eli last weekend and enjoyed it. On Mark's previous recommendation, bought Dead Presidents on DVD that same day. Just £5 in a very well-known music and DVD retailer. Extraordinary film up there with Mean Streets and Boys in the Hood. Yes, it is that good, but not everyone agreed. This from Lord Tangent. I always thought Dead Presidents looked like an interesting film. So, after you mentioned it the other day, I tracked it down and gave it a look. How dull. It may be accurate and realistic, but that's no substitute for interesting. The Vietnam bit felt been there, done that to me, and though the characters were fine, it didn't take much effort to guess what would happen to him as the whole thing lumbered along. Credit where it's due, the heist was really well done, if only the rest of this turgid brick was too. The only thing I'd take issue with is that the been there, done that thing about the Vietnam sequence, I'm not sure that if you'd seen it when it first came out, you would have had quite that sense about it. But hey, listen, it's not for everyone, you just happen to be wrong. On now to the subject of Possession, which many of you pointed out was very hard to get hold of, but you did track it down, so well done for that. This from Lou Speak. Wholeheartedly agree. Possession is one of my favourite films, one of the most intensely deranged movies I've been lucky enough to witness, up there with Alejandro Jodorowsky's The Holy Mountain. Andrzej Żuławski is massively overlooked, which I agree. This from Will Chadwick. My dad, fortunately enough, has an old copy of Possession on VHS, which of course, it first came out on VHS because it was a video nasty, so that may well be a genuine rarity. I managed to watch it on a bad video player. Despite the quality of the picture and sound, I have to agree with you. It's really strange and effective horror movie and damn scary. I think it reaches a genuine level of hysterical madness, only matched by Ken Russell's The Devils. Let me mention, incidentally, because it's a new year and I have to do this every year, yet another new year has gone by without Warner's releasing the complete director's cut of The Devils, which has been finished and sitting on a shelf for 5 years now. It's a disgrace. It needs to be made available on DVD. We need to do something about it. This from Hayden Frost. Possession has remained one of my favourite films since I saw it a few years ago. It is fairly flawed, but I love it. I recognise the problems, but simply don't care about them. They in no way diminish my enjoyment of Isabella Gianni's performance, which is shrieking mad, or Carla Rambaldi's distressing effects work. However, not everyone got, felt the same way, which I thought would be the case. This from Dark Dreamweaver 1. Oh dear. Having just watched this movie, I have to say Dr. K is wrong. This is not a classic, although very thought-provoking. I have never seen such bad wooden acting. At one point, I thought it was so wooden, I thought someone had thrown a chair into the room, which I think actually is a joke that Dennis Pennis used in front of Hugh Grant once. The question about whether the acting is wooden or deliberately artifice-laden is a fraught one. Sam Neill's performance is certainly not naturalistic. I don't know that it's bad, I think it's deliberate. This, however, I think is pretty much my favourite response. This from CJMCC5150, name which doesn't trip off the tongue. Never heard of possession. Found it, watched it, didn't get it. Watched it again, didn't get it again. But have a yearning to own a pair of pink socks. Sorry.